Kia ora, good afternoon. Welcome to another Connecting the Dots podcast. So today I would like to talk about the black-eyed children. Dropped in my lap. I had briefly heard about it before, but it's one of those things that because most of it is so grossly misunderstood and over-exaggerated and hyperinflated and urban legendy, creepypasta, blah blah blah. I've never really paid it much attention. I tend not to focus on the creepypastas, like your Slendermans and the stuff that none of it's real. There are things like the Mothman, which I will talk about later, which is, they are real instances, but it is a urban myth, but I know why it's an urban myth, but they are real experiences, whereas things like the Slender Man and that are just completely made up on the internet to put fear into people, and, people, it got picked up and ran with and blah, blah, blah. The black-eyed kids is pretty much the same. However, there are some people that swear black and blue that they have had encounters with children and, other people who were black-eyed children, were black-eyed people. The disturbing thing for me when I looked into it was just the amount of people that said they were fallen angels, that they were, possessed by demons. I mean, I suppose technically they are, but I'll explain why in a second. But, not like demons from hell kind of thing, unless you are looking at it from the perspective that I look at it, as in, you conjure your own demons, you conjure your own demonic possessions because you are releasing your inner demons and letting your inner demons show and take over your life and your body and your psychological mind. Then yes, that's the case, and I will explain. But they're not demons sent by Satan. They haven't come up from hell to take over the world and torment people. You're not possessed, you're not demonic, you're not a fallen angel, and neither are they. However, the first thing I thought was, when I was looking into the accounts of the couple of videos that I found, was there has to be a medical reason. There is that famous video clip of the girl that was drowning, and because this is why I thought of it. Please forgive me, I'm going to try and find the video to put the link in the description box below. But I believe there was like a flood or an earthquake. I think there was an earthquake or a flood or something like that, and a young girl was trapped in the water. Her auntie had died and was holding on to her foot, and this poor little girl was drowning, holding on to the log, and people were desperately trying to rescue her and failed to do so, and she ended up drowning. She'd been in the water for a while, and that image haunted me. The first time I saw it, that image has never left my head, because she was a baby, and just that look of hopelessness in her eyes. Oh, I'm going to get emotional. It just stayed with me forever, because I kept thinking, why didn't they just chop the auntie's hand off? Could they not have got divers to go in and just chop the auntie's hand off? I don't understand. Surely her having a chopped off foot or something is better than her being dead. I couldn't understand why more wasn't being done. Not enough was being done. And people had to watch that poor little girl die. And the thing that stuck with me was the fact that her eyes were black. Her eyes turned pretty much black. And so when I was listening to the story about the black-eyed children, I immediately thought of her, and I thought, well, she wasn't evil, she wasn't demonic, she wasn't possessed, she was dying, she was in a helpless situation. There has to be a medical reason for it. So I did some research, and what I found was just absolutely fascinating, and I'm correct in my hypothesis. When you show excessive, when you're going through a really stressful, fearful situation, you get a surge of adrenaline, and adrenaline rushes can turn your eyes black. Now, in the case of the black-eyed children, all the reports where I consider the cases where these people actually believe they had encounters with them, and there was one man in particular where, he sounded very convincing. There seems to be a common denominator in all of this, and that is that when the children approach the people and they ask for help and they're turned down or they don't get their own way, they become aggressive, they become psychotic, they can, exude fear in the people who experience them. Like, the people say that they just get this rush of fear, and they need to get the hell out of there. Or, they become fearful for their lives because the kids just turn dark. They turn like demonic, which is why people think they're demons and, spawn of the devil and that sort of thing. But there is actually, if these encounters are real, there is actually two psychological conditions that can explain why these kids and these people appear to have black eyes. And one of them is narcissism, believe it or not. Now, I know a lot about narcissists because I was a victim of covert narcissistic abuse with my ex-husband. Everything that he did to me is because of the fact that I didn't realize until I woke up that I was dealing with a narcissist. Now, one of the things with narcissists is that they have a smaller dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. Their grey matter is smaller, and they don't have what is commonly referred to as an empathy gene. They have no empathy. So when they do acts of, when they say mean things and they do mean things, it's like they have no soul. And it is called narcissistic psychopathy. And when they fly into the rage, when that anger comes out, when that inner demon comes out in them, when you trigger them because you're defying them, because you're not doing as you're told, because you're going against their will, when that rage comes out, when they fly into that rage, their eyes turn black. Like their pupils expand so much that like their eyes turn black. And because a lot of these people say that it is when they start not going along with what the children want that the children turn nasty and scary. So, they could be dealing with narcissistic psychopaths. And that's why their eyes are turning black. And the second one is bipolar disorder. Now, when they, what's it called? Dysphoric mania, by people who suffer from bipolar disorder, who have got, dysphoric mania, their eyes can turn black as well. And as we know from my Alyssa Lamb podcast, when you have bipolar, some of the symptoms of that are, you become so pumped up with adrenaline that you're fearless. You become fearless. You feel invincible. You feel powerful. You feel like, like nothing can hurt you, that you are invincible, that you are Superman, and you will do really reckless, stupid things. When you're having these bouts of, I have to keep looking, dysphoric mania, because of that rush of adrenaline, which then, overstimulates your pupils, and then, they expand to the point where the black part of your eye, the pupil of your eye, takes over like your whole eye. There is also a medical condition called, and I have to keep looking because I've written my notes down, called, if I pronounce this wrong, I apologise, midriasis, which is an overproduction of noradrenaline in bipolar disorder sufferers, which can also turn the pupils black. And so I think, basically, in conclusion, you're not dealing with demonic children or, fallen angels or people who have, risen from the bowels of hell in order to torment the living. You're dealing with covert narcissists who are dealing with, episodes of narcissistic psychopathy or bipolar disorder with their, keep looking at the paper, dysphoric mania. So, because basically with narcissists, they have no empathy. And that pang of fear that you get when you come across a narcissist when they're flying into a psychopathic rage, or like these people did with the black-eyed children, when that fear hit them. And see, because this is why the children will first come at you with a sob story. And narcissists like to tell a sob story. They love to play the victim. They will always come across as the victim. They will not take responsibility for any of their actions, because in their mind, they have done no wrong and they are doing no wrong. They are doing what they want to do, and you can't tell them otherwise. And when you argue that point, they will fly into a psychopathic rage. They will even fly into a bipolar rage and do things that go against the norm of a normal empathic person who has, perfectly functioning grey matter in the prefrontal cortex of the brain. Um, and then they will do things to try and, it's usually to teach that person a lesson or put them in their place. And then what usually happens is, once they have done their act of abuse, whether it's physical violence, with me it was attempted murder, and trying to destroy my name and my reputation, blah blah blah. Once they've done that, they then play the victim. They turn it on you. They're very good at victim shaming and victim blaming, and then they will have everybody look at the victim like they're the one. Well, you must have done something wrong, you must have deserved it, when in actual fact all you did was you stood up for yourself and you said no. Do you know what I mean? And this seems to be the common denominator with a lot of these victims that are convinced that they had encounters with these children. And, like things like bipolar disorder, and that can be genetic, they can be passed down, because you're talking about psychological disorders. But people with these kind of psychological traumas, they have either suffered severe childhood abuse, like severe childhood abuse, where it can either be one of two things. They can get brain damage in uterine, because the mother was abused, as when she was pregnant, and so it can cause fetal developmental issues. So that could be one of the reasons. It could be like a form of brain damage, or underdevelopment due to alcohol, drugs, whatever that the mother was taking, or the mother was beaten, that sort of thing. Or you suffer from such severe trauma as a child, like neglect, abandonment, physical abuse, sexual abuse, mental abuse, that sort of thing, that you split from reality, and you take on a persona that is less empathetic in order to survive. And then, because it's something that is inbred in you as a child, to toughen up and be strong, don't cry, don't make a sound, don't tell anyone, that sort of thing, that you shut that part of your brain off, your empathetic part of your brain off, from a very, very young age. And then it's almost impossible to turn that back on as an adult, to show sympathy and empathy, because I always say we have a sympath gene and we have an empath gene. And someone who has shows sympathy, it's like for example, you get the news that someone that you work with that you really care about has lost their dog, and you feel really sorry for them, and you just you want to give them support, and you want to buy them flowers, or a wee box of chockies or something, just to make them feel better. Whereas someone who has an empathic gene, has a strong empathic gene, they take on that pain like they're experiencing it themselves. And you will often get that hit in the gut, or that surge in the gut, to put your foot down and get the hell out of there as soon as possible, because that empathetic side of yourself is seeing their darkness come out. And because like the empathic gene is a really high functioning gene for intuition and instinct, um, when that fear comes rushing in that says, put your foot down and get the hell out of here, don't you let those kids in your car, that is your empathy gene kicking in with that adrenaline rush. You get like that rush of cortisol, and the adrenaline comes kicking in, and your instincts kick in. You put your foot on the accelerator and off you go, and you leave those kids stranded because you saw that darkness in them, and that like sucker punches you in your gut. And you know that if you stick around them, something bad's going to happen. But because most people don't understand the way the brain works in conjunction with emotion and this, psychology, the psychological mind rather, because most people don't know that emotions and psychology are kind of separate, but conducive to each other's function. Like, for example, I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, biorhythmics. So when you have empathy for someone and you feel it in your gut, you've seen something in them, you've physically seen it with your eye, where your body has reacted to it physically, that has then triggered your psychological mind to say, get the hell out of here. So that is your instincts kicking in with your intuition and saying, get the hell out of here. So it's biorhythmics. Your biomagnetic frequency would be your empathy parameter. It is the gauge for your empathy. So what you're seeing in front of you and what you're experiencing is of such a frequency that it hits you in the guts, which triggers that thing in your brain, the alarm bells in your mind to say, put your foot down and get the hell out. So your biomagnetic frequency, or your empathic parameter, is kicking in and telling your instincts are then telling your intuition, your psychological mind, which is because your psychological mind is made up of your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. So then your empathetic parameter, or your biomagnetic frequency, because you are witnessing with your eyes something that has triggered that fear in you, that instinctual, because I say that instinct is biological and intuition is psychological. Okay, so if you think of instinct as being like where your empathic gene kicks in and triggers your instinct, because you've seen or witnessed something in that person that terrified the crap out of you, and the alarm bells went off in your head that said, get the hell out of here, that's because your biomagnetic parameter has been triggered, because your empathetic gene, or your empathic gene, has then had that surge or that kick to then tell your conscious mind or your intuitive mind to get the hell out of here. And so that's why it's really important that you have to pay attention to your surroundings, which is actually really cool in the fact that I just gave, if you have a look in my community section box, I just gave a little tutorial about snake totem, and why snake totem is important, is the totem of, paying attention to your surroundings. So that ties in really well. So, so black-eyed children, for the people who are utterly convinced that they had experiences with them, they're not dealing with demonic people. They're dealing with tiny little narcissistic psychopaths, or, children suffering from bipolar episodes. They both experience the same kind of reactions, and that when they don't get their own way, or where they are being controlled, and feeling like they're being minimized and subdued and all that sort of thing, they can fly into the rages, they can fly into these psychopathic or psychotic episodes. Both of them suffer from delusions of grandeur, and feeling like they're invincible and can do no wrong and stuff like that. But with bipolar disorder, they have the highs of feeling invincible, and then the lows of feeling like they're dead inside and just want to curl up in a ball and die, and blah blah blah. So that's honestly what I think we're dealing with. So I mean, if you have these experiences with anyone whose eyes turn black, it is a warning sign to just get up and leave, and don't even try and engage them, because if these people fly into a bad enough rage, you could end up like me, where they resort to things like trying to put stuff into your food to kill you, and then claim victim. So, but anyway, I'll put it out there. I'll put links in the description box below. I'll try and find the video of that girl. It breaks my heart every time I see it. It really does. I want to say it was in South America somewhere, like Honduras, but the thing is, I'm not being unprofessional when I don't know where she was from, and that it's just that when I see things like that, it hurts me so deeply. It hurts me so badly, because when you are an empathic person, you take on that suffering like it's your own. I was raised having to avoid things like that because of the fact that it hurts so much that I feel helpless, that I can't do anything to help them. And, you know, and like, I just cry for them. It breaks my heart, because I don't like, you know, seeing innocent people suffer. I've never seen Bambi, the movie Bambi. My family have never ever let me see the movie Bambi. There's loads of Disney movies I've not been allowed to see. There's a lot of movies I've not been allowed to see. Oh gosh, The Green Mile and Schindler's List traumatized me for years. They were movies that I never watched once, could never watch them again. They traumatized me so much. I remember after I watched Schindler's List at the movies with my first husband, I went home and I rang my mum and I cried for about 2 hours on the phone. But why? Like, I couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand how people can be like that. You know, like, I don't understand how man can be so cruel in such ways as to defy logic. Like, why? Why do you take your insecurities and your personal issues and that out on innocent people? Like, I don't get it. You know, and so yeah. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here. So yeah, just a quick video. Links in the description box below. Have a beautiful Sunday, and I will speak to you later. Ka kite anō. Mwah. Hi, just adding this little bit on. I've just had a look. I finally found her. Her name was Omira Sanchez, and she was from Colombia, and it was because of a landslide. So I'll put the link in the description box below and just zip the two little videos together. I apologise for not getting her name right, but I just saw her photo again, and it just devastates me. It just it devastates me. I want to hold her. I I just want to hold her. I just want to put her in my arms and hold her. That's all I want to do when I see her. I'm sorry. So anyway, okay, I'm fine. I'm used to it. I've had a lifetime of being a empath. This is just the curse of being an empath, is that you want to save everyone and you can't. Anyway, I will speak to you later. Ka kite anō.